All right, guys. So week 2 has finished, and I want to talk a little bit about chords because I've been watching. It's interesting, right? Watching you guys play in a different way is also really educational for me too, right? We're all learning in different ways, and I think they were all going to be smarter for this because we're using our brain in ways that we probably haven't really used. So I want to talk about chords. One thing I noticed it with a lot of you is you guys are kind of stumbling over your chords. Especially when for some reason it's weird. One of you guys, I forget who said it, but one of you guys said it's not the same without me being beside you. You kind of feel like you don't remember things. So I want to talk a little bit about major and minor chords. If you can't remember what they are, how do you find it? And then 2, how to use visualization to really be able to capture what you're playing before you play it, so then you don't mess up. Okay, so let's start with how do you figure out your chord. So the first thing you have to do, we'll pick a nice easy one. Let's do E major. So you got to first figure out what your key signature of E major is. So if we go pull out our Father Charles Goes Down, right? Comes before E? D. So we would need Father Charles Goes Down. So we'd have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. So we'd have 4 sharps. Now, a chord uses it's based off the first 5 notes of a scale. So we know in E major we have E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and B, right? So a major chord would be the first note of the 5-finger pattern, the 3rd note, and you can't see me, and the 5th note of that scale. So the 1, 3, and 5. And that's perfect because our thumb fits there, and our 3rd finger, and our 5th finger. And we want to use those 3 fingers. All right? And you want to always use those same fingers because if some of you guys, you're a little lazy, and you kind of start messing around with the fingering, and what you find is 2 things. 1, you won't be able to speed them up, which is, remember I said last week, our goal is to get faster with all our technique right now. And then second thing is you'll end up playing wrong notes. So you not only have to always use the same fingering, you want to be able to almost memorize what the notes are. And if you use the same fingering, you will access something called muscle memory. Muscle memory is an interesting thing. So it's kind of like, you know, when you learn to ride a bike, you went to go ride it, and you suddenly you'll never forget. They'll say, oh, it's like riding a bike, you'll never forget. That's because your muscles actually remember how it feels to ride a bike. So it's no different with your finger memory. Your muscles and your fingers will remember, but you have to do it always correct when you're first doing it, or you'll never create that muscle memory, and then you won't be able to always have it perfect. So like I said, for E major, we have E, G sharp, and B. Now we're going to do it solid, and then we'll do it broken to explain the difference, and then how to work on it. Okay? So the whole thing, we were talking about muscle memory. The other thing that we want to talk about is visualization. So we know that it's always going to be E, G sharp, and B, but it's going to be in different combinations, right? Because the keyboard changes as you go up, right? So the first one, like we said, is E, G sharp, B. We know the next one's going to be G sharp, B, and E. Now, if I just try to jump, of course, I have muscle memory, so my fingers go automatically. But for you, they're not going to go, right? You're going to be like, right? So what my mom taught me, and then I always tell you guys, is you want to look, I'll find the right position. E, G sharp, B, and then on my head I go, oh, I got G sharp, B, and E. And remember, this is not about speed, this is about accuracy, because the speed will come later. So I look, and I know I'm going to have my thumb on the G sharp, my 3rd finger on the B, and my 5th finger on the E. So I look, and I almost can feel it in my fingers. And then I move slowly, and I play it. All right? Then, what comes next? We know we've got B, we got to have an E, so up here, right? And we've also got to have the G sharp, which is up here, right? So I'm here, I can visualize it at 1, 3, 5. I'm going to feel that in my fingers. Whoa, that was easier that way, right? And then we got to go back to the root. So E, G sharp, B. Then we repeat the top. Then we're going to go back, G sharp, E, B. So I look at that, I know exactly what I'm gonna move to. I'm gonna feel that in my fingers and I move. Then I gain E, B, G sharp, and then E, G sharp, B. I feel it, I feel it, I feel it. I look, right? And at first it might be a little tricky. Maybe I won't be able to do it, right? Maybe I only use 1 or 2 or 3 of the chords inversions, right? And I keep practicing it. And remember, the worst part is a lot of time when we do this, we get frustrated with ourselves. So don't get frustrated. If it's too hard, take a break and come back. So that is, now we got to talk about minors. So that's major. And remember, how to practice minors is exactly the same as the majors. So we know, and for our minor scales, our major and minor keys are related. So let's stick with E just because we're on E. So if we move to E minor, we've got to figure out the relative major to figure out what key signature it is, right? So if we're on E, the relative major of E minor would be, we count 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've landed on G, right? So G major is the relative major. What comes before G? F. So F, as we know, our Father Charles goes down, we only have 1 sharp. We only have F sharp, right? So if we're on E and we're building our chord, and here, I'll put that down a little bit. With E, so we're going to have the minors. There's no G sharp anymore in E minor, right? And B. And that's how we figure it out. So we use the key signature, and we use the first 5 notes, the 1, 3, and 5 of the first 5 notes to tell us what the notes of the chord are. So I hope that helps for some of you, because some of you guys seemed a little bit confused when we were doing them without me being there to help you. So I hope that helps you with practicing. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message, shoot me a text. Like I said, I'm seeing most of you, but for a few of you, I'm not seeing. So I thought this would be a good way to help you. Now, I also have a surprise for everybody. I'm doing it for you guys too. I'm going to be preparing some packets. They should be available by the middle of the week. I'll have them in a box outside my house, and then your mom or dad can come by and pick it up. You'll have your name on it, so you'll know which one's yours. And there'll be some theory sheets. There'll be some sort of cheat guides to help you practice, and just some fun stuff. Maybe some candy. But you gotta check with your mom if you can have it. But yeah, so just some fun things that you guys can do, because I know talking to all of you guys seem pretty bored, so I thought this would be a nice way for you guys to have something fun to do. All right, I'll talk to you all later, and keep safe.